Hey, it's Will Ripley with JamPlay.com. Welcome to the first official lesson of my second series that I've done with JamPlay. So in case you don't know who I am or you're just getting introduced to me right now, I've actually done an entire Phase 1 series with JamPlay. So what that means is that for you to get the most out of these next lessons coming up, you're definitely going to need to know some certain things. Some of these things are going to be everything from just some of your technique to some chords that you know, to some scales that you know, techniques that you know, and stuff like that. So this lesson is all dedicated to just making sure that foundation is in place so that you can get the most out of these lessons. So let's hop into it. So one of the most important things that I've found with teaching one-on-one students for years and years and years is that a lot of people miss out on this right-hand technique. And it's really tough to ever get into the advanced level of guitar playing without this in place. And it really even challenges beginner guitar players to get to the intermediate level even. So what I'm talking about here is your right hand placement. And so what that is basically just getting your right hand secured on your bridge where you have stability. And this is great if you take a very simple riff, like one of the first lessons I taught in my first series with JamPlay was just something basically like this. So that's just like a one string kind of movement. But if you notice my right hand there, I've got that planted right in this section of my hand, okay? And then also if you're to glide along some strings, like say if I were to take a minor pentatonic scale, what you'll notice is that I'll glide my hand down the strings. Okay, but my hand never leaves this bridge, okay? And so just notice what you're doing when you play some single note kind of stuff like strumming. Like of course your hand is going to be off that guitar. But this is going to be super, super important to just have that in place, because in order for you to get the most out of these videos and to get into that intermediate and hopefully eventually the advanced level of guitar playing, that's going to be super, super important for you. So when you have that right hand technique dialed in, it's going to be really awesome to know a bunch of single note riffs. Some great bands to check into would be like Rage Against the Machine, Led Zeppelin, and pretty much every artist has some awesome single note riffs. You know, if you think about a song like Black Dog by Led Zeppelin or something like that where it's single notes, and that's going to be a huge part of that technique. And in order to play notes clean and fast is to have that right hand secured, okay? So that's the first thing I want to go over, because honestly, so many guitar players miss out on this. I've seen it time and time again with my students in person and online and whatever the case. A lot of people just miss out on this, and it'll actually prevent them from getting to the next level with their guitar playing. So make sure you got that dialed in. I definitely go into that in full in Phase 1, but make sure you got that dialed in. And so while we're on the topic of single note activity, we went over all 5 minor pentatonic scales, but specifically in the key of E minor, okay? And so just really quickly, we've got our first position, okay? Our second position, third position. You'll notice the fingers I'm using, like it's kind of weird to use my second and fourth finger for that first passage, but technically that's how you want to be playing these. Here's our fourth position. I'll just play that one more time. And then our fifth position. And then they start over. And I would recommend like just keep these going. Like if you got those 5 positions, you should be able to just keep them going. And then on an SG here, I've got a nice double cutaway where I'm able to reach that highest fret. So just having those 5 minor pentatonic positions is going to be super, super important, because if you don't know this already, minor pentatonic positions are really like the foundation of like all of our favorite rock music out there. And in order to play lead guitar, rhythm guitar, the single note riffs that we were talking about a minute ago, they're going to be super, super important just to get those dialed in. Okay, another really important thing is power chords. So if you don't know what those are already, you're definitely going to want to know them. We've got our open power chords. okay? But then also if we just move that shape up, we've always got this formula of 1 string up, 2 strings over. And now there's a few different ways you can play these. I always suggest playing them with your 1st, 3rd, and 4th finger. You can actually play them with just those 2 fingers or these 2 fingers, but this is like your nice, big, full power chord right here. What's cool about these is that we've got this octave shape. So if you actually take out your 3rd finger, your pinky finger and your 1st finger actually represent the same note. And so what that's called is an octave. So this is a low G and this is a high G in this particular setting. So that's another technique that I went over in phase 1. It's a super, super important guitar technique that you see in everywhere from jazz and rock. Okay, it's just a really cool, awesome rock guitar technique is to slide those octaves around. And again, they're right inside your power chord. As you can see, we're kind of already progressing you a little bit harder. We're talking about like single note riffs and some scales, and now we're talking about combining 2 or 3 notes at the same time, like or 2 or 3 fingers. Now the next thing is all your chords, okay? So we're definitely, there's some songs in this phase 2 series that are getting deep into chords, like a whole bunch of them. So it's gonna be really helpful for you to know at least your basic chords. So what I like to do is just go through my chords alphabetically, A through G, okay? And we've got our major chords, but we also have our minor chords. And so it's gonna be really helpful and it's gonna be a nice little skill testing question for yourself if you know all your major chords and all your minor chords. So I just go through them like this, like A, B, C, D, E, F, and G, okay? And there's a few different ways you can play your G, okay? You can play it like this, you can play it like this, and often you see it played like this, which is a nice kind of way to switch from your C to G, okay? And same thing with the minors. We've got A minor, B minor, C minor, D minor, E minor, and an F minor bar chord, and a G minor bar chord as well. And so that brings me to my next thing is bar chords. Okay, so bar chords, super important, kind of foundational beginner and intermediate guitar technique. We've got 4 positions altogether that you're definitely gonna wanna know. So we've got our major position, our minor position, and then if we switch down to the A string, we've got our major position and our minor position, okay? So now, in case this is just like feeling overwhelming already, then don't worry because I've got all this stuff laid out for you in phase 1 and I really go into this stuff in depth. I've got a lot of cool songs and the feedback has been really cool. And so in case you're just getting introduced to me right now, I think you'd really dig the phase 1 in case this is already maybe over your head a little bit. Okay, so speaking about chords, obviously a really important thing is to be able to put them together. So if we grab, say, 3 chords, it's gonna be really cool to be able to put those together with a strum pattern going on with your right hand. So say for instance, if I grab a D, a C add 9, and a G, okay? So those are those chords. We got D, and your C add 9 looks a lot like a G chord, and G. And if I were to just go like this, like, that's making music, right? Like just some basic guitar, rhythmic, kind of foundational strumming guitar techniques. Obviously a super, super important part about guitar playing. And I'll definitely get into some stuff like that in phase 2, but in phase 1, I've got a ton of songs, a lot of great material in there, all regarding that chord strumming stuff, with all your basic chords, but also your basic bar chords as well. And lastly, what's gonna be really important and helpful for you to know is how to find the notes on the fretboard. And I went into that in depth about how the fretboard works. Because when you look down at it, firstly, we've just got these frets, these lines going this way, and then all these lines going this way, right? And it's just like this empty, mysterious grid. But if you can start unlocking some of that and understanding where some of the notes lie, it's going to be really helpful, as I'm sure you can imagine, when you're switching into different keys and playing different chords and stuff like that. Okay, so that pretty much wraps it up for what I think would be really helpful for you to just have in your back pocket. You know, just know this stuff and know it well, because going into this next phase, my phase 2 lessons, you know, I'm going to kind of somewhat assume that you know some of the stuff already. So without any further waiting, I'm going to dig into the first lesson, and feel free to hop into phase 1, but we're going to get started with phase 2. So I'm really excited. So let's get in there and start ripping it up.